Let It Die Deathverse is a very interesting game. Now we've had an open beta. Unfortunately, I was able to play number 2 because it is literally at 2 a.m. and I think there's servers that are literally different per kappa, so what the fuck is that? I don't know why it had to be so damn early. Maybe people just, wake up at fucking 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. and to play video games. Are you okay? What's happened to you? Maybe a security job or something? I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, we played Deathverse, and I want to talk to you guys about the takeaways that I have, and I would love to hear what you have to say as well. So, interesting thing is about Deathverse. The first thing that comes to mind is I actually really enjoyed it, and I tried to hold back a little bit my criticism because I wasn't sure if I was gonna love it. And frankly, it does have issues, but the systems at play and the ferocity of combat and like the balance of melee seems kind of like I have my old Let It Die back before the Kamas and ranged weapons seemingly dug in a good bit, at least at some point. So the fact that melee weapons are so prevalent in the game, and I was actually really surprised with the progression that's in the game. For those guys who don't know, each weapon comes available as you level up, and each weapon has a different special talent as well as a move combo and everything like that. The combat encounters felt largely really good, of course, as is Let It Die. Some weapons felt a little shitty. The brass knuckle one for me felt like you could juggle really easily, but that might just be we haven't found its counter yet. We haven't found the weapon that perfectly harmonizes for our best playstyle, things like that. I also really liked them addressing certain things that exist within other battle royales slash arena royales, which is essentially the person that hides in the bush till the end, basically gets a lot of gear and then hides in the bush to the end and then just fights the people who have been fighting all the time, but they're weak because they've been fighting. So in order to address that, they've given you the ability to heal by attacking people. So to be an aggressive person is to heal and to get rewarded for being aggressive, which is awesome. But, and this is where we're going to start to talk about the other things, the more negative things I don't really enjoy too much. So basically, the things I love, progression seems fun. I hope that there's like a PvE dungeon grind that can give you materials. That way someone can have something else to do instead of just incredibly stressful encounter by fighting real humans. Incredible stressful encounter by maybe fighting humans on a team. You know, I hope there's like a go to this nice place that's just chill and just farm some, go to this dungeon-like event where you just grind and get gear and then you're done. Maybe you can even do that co-op. You can just fight some ads with your boys, get some gear, get the hell out, be a nice chill time. I don't know if that's going to exist, probably not, but yeah. Anyways, there's a lot to love about Deathverse. It is very different to Let It Die, which you guys have said very clearly in comments. I understand. We all had this kind of feeling that was going to be the case. It's going to be very PvE side of things. But the issues that for people who are playing the beta, and I felt like this was very universal, and I would be curious to see if anyone had a pushback on this. But a lot of the takeaways for myself as well as many other people was the fan fervor or fan favor kind of a metric where basically whenever you deal damage, you get fan applause, and by getting fan applause, you get an attack scaling buff that is frankly way too hot. So again, I think this is created to basically make it so that it has incentive to be aggressive, to basically if you're hiding in a bush all game, you're gonna get punished. But it is incredibly hard to also find enemies in this game, and enemies, it's not like enemies can just run away from you forever. So if you happen to not get lucky with an engagement, you're running around trying to find somebody or trying to find the right approach, you will just get towards the end and get smashed by someone who was lucky enough and just lucky enough to find enemies. There are some gateways to this to kind of circumnavigate this flaw within the game by actually fighting mobs like animals and like creatures that are going to attack you. So there's a reason for participating in them outside of just them dropping mushrooms, which I like that. If anything, if they're not going to tone down the attack scaling buff that you get from fan applause, I would prefer if they just scattered a shit ton of animals in an area, or just made it like on every single map there is clearly a point in which summons animals, and that would even incentivize if there was some sort of way to find this point in the map, like maybe a siren going off, that you would all run to that point in the map, and then any person who is in the vicinity of your little hexagon part of the map would be drawn to that point, and that would further give you an engagement. Because that was the problem I hated with the game, is I spent the whole time running around trying to find somebody, and I would be fine with just dying in the first 2 seconds if it meant that I could practice the game and actually get good at it. Instead, I spent the whole time running around hoping to find somebody. And the other issue I found is what happens when you actually take damage. I love the idea of you healing through combat engagements so that you can just not, if you happen to like, you have an incentive to keep fighting because you can come back from the brink, given you can pull off enough, enough countering and stuff like that. But I dislike highly the idea that there is really no way to heal sufficiently. I think that they're like the mushroom healing is not even felt. Like you can pick up a mushroom, eat it, and you'll have to pick up like 50 mushrooms in order to fully heal your character. But at that point, you spend so much time getting mushrooms that you're gonna die to the guy who has max attack because he's been out there slaying, you know? That's a problem to me. And I'll be curious to see what you guys think about that. For me, that's a huge issue, is I felt like when I did take damage, and I literally was like, my only option was to run the hell away, I found that I was basically just like, why did I run away? Like, it's better to die there than to like run away and then not have any way to repair yourself. So to me, and this is the idea that I was hoping that they would implement, I also think it would be good for engagements and like forcing people to kind of pick and choose the kind of poison that you want to run with. But I would love it if there was a point in the map where basically you would run up to it and it's like a giant pillar with a bunch of sirens on the very top of it, and you could basically activate it, and that would start like giving you an electrical charge, and that would start to pretty quickly give you voltage back, heal you. But the thing is when you start to pull voltage from this like giant fire pole, it would start doing a siren song going wee wee and like start to have flashy lights to where anyone who's kind of scouting could drastically see that this is being activated in the area. And of course, they would go to that area and try to fight you, but it would have to be enough healing to where you wouldn't just be sitting there for the whole time and just luck out that no one pursued you. You'd have to heal relatively fast. But also, I think a way that they could do this and make it even better is if these siren pulls could also be siphoned even if you have full health. So if people want to grief, or people want to kind of like make it so that the area that they're currently in is not going to get healed, so you basically can't have somebody run away from you, you could basically stand in the siren area, turn it on, you would just be getting healed, but you wouldn't be getting healed because you're already max health, and you'd be depleting the energy source or the voltage in this thing whilst the siren is going off, kind of as like a, I'm gonna drain this one, if you want to come fight me, then good. And yeah, that'd be the thing that I would I would love to see, because right now there's a problem where you're running around with like low health, feeling like a chicken with your head cut off, feeling like you can literally do nothing. Like the first encounter, you're just gonna get smashed, with an exception to like the hammer, where you can like spiral into somebody and then just run away again, spiral into somebody and run away again. The other thing I think would be cool if you could gain health from attacking the hunter. That way there was some method of like, hey, did you know you could like actually fuck up the hunter, like at least get one hit in and then run away so that you can get some health. Because right now the hunter is just like, it's a derpy AI that you can run from easily and doesn't really pose much of a threat. In fact, I don't know why the hunter exists. A lot of times in the game you can run away from her really easily, she doesn't pursue you. Yeah, and maybe when someone has a ranged weapon, it's going to be a little bit of an annoying thing, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to be good, but I digress. So far, positive takeaways. I think the melee is actually really fun to get back into. I think it's interesting that they have a lot of these variability. I think it's the monetization didn't seem to be too egregious, and also it's just cosmetic, right? So you're not going to get completely screwed over. We did get to mess around with the perks and stuff like that. Also, I'm curious about how deep the progression is going to be in order to keep us hooked. I do think that that's something that they should really look into, because I don't think cosmetics are going to be the thing that's going to keep people around forever. I think the reason why a lot of people played Let It Die for as long as they did was to, of course, find the next best armor, the next coolest armor, to create a build that's following like a ranged character, that's following a melee character. Those things really helped with the longevity of Let It Die, as well as the random generated floors. I think would be great too. But I wonder what they're going to add on top of Deathverse. If they're going to add like a co-op feature where you're just like running through a zone and just like killing enemies and then like getting resources to level up the next weapon that you want to level up. I don't know. Or is it purely going to be PvP, nothing else but PvP? The reason why I don't think that's that great is because this is my feeling. I think a lot of your guys' feeling when we were streaming it that you guys echoed. It is a very stressful game. You're constantly getting whapped and smashed around, but maybe that's just the nature of battle royales, but it's not something that I particularly love, is the feeling of like, oh god, it's just getting it's just so much. It's just, I want to like, that was the nice thing of Let It Die, is your skill development eventually made it so that the game felt chill, which was a really cool moment. And I don't know if that's ever going to happen in a PvP game like Deathverse. So if there was some sort of other way to engage, that would be really, really cool. But alas, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully my hope for Deathverse, just a passive hope, Deathverse and Let It Die's success were connected, so that if Deathverse starts to make a lot of monetary value and maybe increase the player bases of Let It Die, the game with Tower Barbs, Let It Die, the PvE game, if they both basically, like a rising tide rose both ships, essentially is what I'm getting at. I would love to see that. So maybe if the monetary situation of cosmetics really pops off for Deathverse, hopefully that also increases the player base for Let It Die, and therefore maybe gives us a couple more updates in the game that we so cherish, until we can maybe get a true successor to Let It Die 2, which would be a brand new Tower of Barbs and things like that. Also, I'm really curious to see what they do with Deathverse in terms of the story, because it does seem like there's an underlying story there, albeit very, very minute, and maybe that's intentional so that they can just kind of cash in on the name of Let It Die in the world without, you know, completely messing up their potential for a sequel. I don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to me ramble. Please, please, please let me know what you guys liked and disliked so greatly about Let It Die, of course, or Deathverse, sorry, because a lot to like. Also, a lot of things I would hope that they would tweak. Again, I dislike the momentum that is given by fervor / fandom / applause. I hate the attack buff. I like the aggression and the incentivification on aggression. I either think you need to tone down the value of aggression to the extent in which you don't just feel like you're just getting annihilated by someone who has been lucky enough to find encounters, or you can just give people more encounters, create systems of value that pull people to an area that make people basically have a combat engagement, because a lot of the time we're all running around like, where the fuck are you? God damn it, just stop running off everywhere. Oh, Jesus. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Hope I can see you in the next video. Thank you for your time, and goodbye.